when John hit him, whether it was with the belt or, Travis Scott getting involved, he did what he needed to do to win. And he did it. And, and whether we like it or not, he don't care. And I'm all for it because now we get a authentic John Cena. One of the things he talked about was he said you can't question my hustle, which we can't. The man is always he's a workaholic. He's in great shape, great physical shape. Take care of his body, take care of his business outside of the ring. Really never has really been in any type of trouble. He said, you can't question my loyalty to the company, which that is true because he's always been a company guy, and always did what was best for the company, which I believe this is best for the company, what he did last night. Because in my opinion, it was getting stale. Seeing Cody come out in a suit and always smiling, man, that's not reality. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of Belt Talk. I am your host, Terrence Matthews. We are coming off of WrestleMania 41 that took place in Las Vegas, Nevada. What a weekend it was. Saturday, night one of WrestleMania, Sunday, ending night two of WrestleMania. Saturday night's main event was Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, CM Punk. Night two, main event, Cody Rhodes versus John Cena. All the emotional drama that went on between those two nights, it was incredible to watch. It was an emotional roller coaster that they took us on. Shout out to the WWE for, just captivating us. That's exactly, it had everything. It's why I love professional wrestling. It will give you every piece, it will pull on every piece of emotion that you have on the inside of your body. And man, what a night it was. What a night it was. Now, we have a brand new Universal Champion, John Cena. 17-time champion, the GOAT, the official greatest of all time, passing the Nature Boy Ric Flair far as most championship wins, capturing number 17, defeating Cody Rhodes. And man, if you listen to that crowd last night, I swear, and I've been talking about this for a while between my friends and people that watch wrestling, it was only a matter of time before the crowd was going to boo Cody. Only a matter of time. If you listen closely to that crowd on last night, they was pretty much behind John Cena. And it was crazy because a lot of the things that Cena was talking about, how Cody's too well put together, too polished, too this, too that. A lot of it was what a lot of the hardcore fans, not these fly-by-night fans that came along when Cody came back, or these fly-by-night fans. I'm talking about the ones that has been watching this going back to the Hogan days. The true fans of professional wrestling that has been watching this, we all pretty much said or was thinking the same thing that Cena was saying when it came to Cody Rhodes. Now look, like I've said before, I am a fan. I am not one that's gonna come on this show, talk about spoilers, try to be the first to be able to say this is what getting ready to happen, that's getting ready to happen. Man, I don't care about none of that. I want to be caught off guard from watching it just like anyone else would be from just watching professional wrestling, And man, we was caught off guard. We was caught. Now, I'm not shocked at the fans booing Cody. I'm shocked at how the fans started to turn on Cody. One of the things that was interesting to me as we was building up to the match between Cody Rhodes was when they was overseas, and I may have alluded to this on another show, but when they was overseas, the overseas fans, is different from the American fans. The overseas fans seem like they are more accepting of whatever that you put in front of them because they're just happy that WWE is actually over there. The United States fans are completely different. Completely different. Now, the overseas fans is more so, like I said, they're happy, they're happy-go-lucky. They're here to just have a good time. They're loud, they're enthusiastic, they're excited. The United States fans, man, completely different. If you give us something that we don't necessarily like, they're gonna let you know about it. They really are. They really are. And when they came back from that tour from overseas, the first week that they came back, Cody was not on the show, I believe. I know for a fact Cena wasn't there, and they had that last face-to-face last week. That Friday, this past Friday on SmackDown. But I thought it was just, to go back and forth with Cena like they did. And yes, Cody was saying some things about Cena, dressing the same like he did in the past. And, he really tried to use that "you can't wrestle" thing against Cena. And we saw last night, John pretty much put on a traditional clinic when it came to what he did in the match. Now, we can talk about the finish, but I'm talking about the actual match itself. Man, if you watch, me and my wife was sitting there watching the match real close. John Cena was not gassed. He was not winded. We was watching the way that he was breathing. Cody was trying his best to push the tempo. Every time he tried to push the tempo, John would always do something to kind of slow him down. It was literally student versus teacher, and you could see it. I mean, you really could see it. So it was interesting, their back and forth leading up to WrestleMania. And I personally thought that it would actually hurt Cody. And I think it did because, again, that the crowd, if you listen closely to the crowd, man, they was booing. When I forget the young lady's name, when the ring announcer announced Cody, if you listen close, man, they was booing him. And I think it was only a matter of time before they did it because, man, look, that the way he dressed, the way he talked, the way he looked, that's not babyface. I've said this before. It's not babyface. Traditionally, that's heel. That's heel. And I believe as we go into, the next major pay-per-view, the year in professional wrestling is pretty much restarted. We're going to find out a lot what's going to happen and the direction that they're going to go in tonight's Monday Night Raw, which we know that first Raw after Mania it's always chaotic and it's full of surprises. So it's going to be a lot that's going to go on. I encourage you to tune in and watch because I'm going to be watching that real close. But, man, if they don't capitalize on and I believe they will, they have to allow Cody to be true to who he is. And that's a great segue into my next point. The Pat McAfee show just ended about 2 hours ago. And John Cena was on there. And John, made some interesting, very interesting points on the show. He really did. And it didn't seem like he was in character. It seemed like it was a real, authentic John Cena that we was getting. And it seemed like he's being his true, authentic self. Now, again, I'm not about spoilers. I won't talk negatively against whether it's kayfabe or whatever. Man, I love professional wrestling. So I'm talking about being encapsulated into the world of professional wrestling with what they're doing. He seemed like he was real. He really did, man. He talked about how Pat asked him, what can we expect moving forward? And one of the things that Cena said was, it sounds like you're trying to ask me to give away what I maybe, and I'm not trying to. He didn't say this per se. It's not a quote, but he kind of encapsulated the statement that I'm getting ready to make. He pretty much said, it sounds like you're trying to give away what I'm going to talk about on tonight, or what I'm going to talk about leading up to the next couple of Raws, the next couple of SmackDowns, the next couple of live events. He pretty much was saying, it's time for us to get back to protecting the integrity of the art form and protecting the business. I'm so excited and I'm glad that he talked like that, because I am so sick and tired of all the people that try to be the first, and they say everybody's a doggone insider. Look, I am not an insider, even though I have a show, a YouTube page that's around professional wrestling. I'm not calling nobody. I'm not trying to be the first to have look, we're talking about this from a fan perspective. Now, I may drop my opinion on what direction that I think that they're going to go into, just from a barbershop fan talk, what we're doing right here. And we may go back and forth in the comment sections and things of that nature, but it's not me trying to ruin the moment for you or for us, the fan base. It's time for us to get back to what professional wrestling was, man. Even Paul Heyman was on the show. He talked about a little bit of that also. He made a comment towards a fan, and the fan pretty much said something to the fact of why, Paul, why? And Paul said, I did it to piss you off directly. That's what he said. And that's so good, because if I can't get you to care and to have you excited for what's next, I'm not doing my job right. And so many people want to spoil it for everybody else. And a lot of people buy into that, and they have itching ears and they want to hear what's happening next. But some of us, man, a lot of us, we just want to just be entertained, taking on an emotional roller coaster, to just, just to be in the moment like we were in our childhood, before the internet, before all the talk shows, before everybody and mama decided to have a podcast like myself. But again, it's from a different perspective. It's from a fan's perspective. It's not from an insider. I don't have nobody on the inside of WWE, on the inside of NXT. If I get invited, and God, Lord say the same, one day I will get invited to be a part of a press conference, man, it's going to be off the back of just being good at this, perfecting the craft and learning the inside of YouTube. And matter of fact, we're on the road to 50 subs. So, man, like, share, and subscribe to content. I really need your help. Like, share, subscribe to content. Tell somebody about this show that I think is just great. That's gonna blow up. The more consistent I am, the more, we together as a community come together. This thing can really blow and turn into something very, very special, and it will. But I'm not gonna be one that's gonna say, hey man, I got this inside, I called my buddy, blah, 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 this happened on Monday Night Raw, just tune in, blah, blah. I don't wanna do none of that. I wanna get it from a traditional, authentic place when it comes to professional wrestling. Like I said, when I was a little bitty boy watching, Monday night, watching Saturday night wrestling and watching Saturday morning wrestling, that excitement of just seeing what Macho Man was gonna do, seeing what Hogan is gonna do, seeing what, being scared to death of what's that? Not Umaga, Kamala, the Ugandan giant that got inducted to the Hall of Fame this weekend. I was terrified of that dude growing up, because he did his job very well. And I allowed him to do his job very well. I remember when The Undertaker debuted, I'm like, what is this creepy music with this 7 foot tall, pale looking dude that's dressed like a mortician, that's strong as an ox. That captivated me, man. And that's what John is pretty much saying when he told Pat, look, I'm not talking about spoilers pretty much. If you want to talk about something else, we can talk about something else, but I'm not gonna, I respect the business too much to give away and to take the excitement away from the fans, even though, in his words, he says, he has a toxic relationship with the fans because the fans, are fickle. They talk about them, they turn their back on people. And truthfully, some of us do, and we can do that as fans. But, he said, in his own words, hey, I'm here to mess up the wrestling business. I'm going to make you guys restart. And I'm all for it. I want to see what John is going to do leading up to December. I want to see what John is going to do as from a fan perspective leading up to September. Another thing he said was, Pat asked him about how during the match did he pay attention to the fans that were starting to get behind him and starting to, really chant, "Let's go Cena," during the match. And Cena said, he pretty much didn't pay attention to that, during the match. And one thing that he talked about that, because he's done the work on himself and because he is, learned to love and appreciate himself, he's calloused his mind, he's calloused his emotions. He's solid in being who he is as a human being. He talked about when he came back, when he I guess sided with The Rock, that, we're not getting no new music. We're not, he's not changing up his image. He's not doing none of that because he is grounded and good with being who he is. And I love that. I love that. He talked about how he don't care what the fans do no more, At the end of the day, he said he's good with himself. He said the only thing that matters to him the most is he pointed to his ring, his wife. He told Pat how, he talked about Pat's staff and how, the consistency of the staff and the people that's around him that love and care about him. Whether it's going through the good days, whether it's going through the bad days, he said those people are going to be with me no matter what. And one of the things that he said about the fans he said, they don't really know him. And it's true. We don't know John in his personal life. That's what he's talking about. What he does from a professional standpoint, he did it because he wanted to do it. He wanted to do it. And even during the match, he told Cody Friday night pretty much that you're going to have to make a decision whether you're going to do what you need to do to win. Because he told Cody the whole time, I'm going to do what I need to do to win. And he did just that. Michael Cole was on the show also, and he talked about how the fans we can really contradict ourselves because we fell in love with the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, but Ric Flair was the main one that would cheat to win. And how hypocritical we can be as fans to cheer for one person that do it, but not be accepting of another person that does it. And that's exactly what John did last night. When John hit him, whether it was with the belt or Travis Scott getting involved, he did what he needed to do to win. And he did it. And whether we like it or not, he don't care. And I'm all for it because now we get a authentic John Cena. One of the things he talked about was he said you can't question my hustle, which we can't. The man is always he's a workaholic. He's in great shape, great physical shape. Take care of his body, take care of his business outside of the ring. Really never has really been in any type of trouble. He said you can't question my loyalty to the company, which that is true because he's always been a company guy, and always did what was best for the company, which I believe this is best for the company, what he did last night. Because in my opinion, it was getting stale. Seeing Cody come out in a suit and always smiling. I mean, man, that's not reality. Now, we did see him ticked off and stuff like that every now and again, but man, it's not. Man, we're in a different. We're in a different time. We are. Man, you got to be rugged. You got to be cutthroat. The reason why Roman resonated with so many people, especially the men, was because he was manly. You know, he spoke his mind. He did what he wanted to do. You know, he got in really good shape. He took it and he grabbed the business by the throat and made us acknowledge him. I mean, you know, and of course, Paul Heyman had a lot to do with that. We're gonna get into that. What happened with Paul over the weekend, and of course, you know, he had a lot to do with that. But man, if Roman was not quarterbacking like I guess we could take a word from Cody Rhodes being the QB1, it wouldn't have worked, man. 1,216-day reign, man. You can't do that without doing something right from an individual basis. You know, the consistency, the discipline, the creativity, the perseverance that he showed. Man, you gotta be in tune to be able to reach that height. And it doesn't matter what area of life or vein or whatever your goals are, you have to show what he showed in order to be successful. And, you know, shout out to Cody. I mean, I'm not saying that Cody has not done a good job of being champion for 300. I think it was 368 days that he was champion. But man, you know, we're in the anti-hero era. I mean, it resonates with the kids. But when they went to Netflix, I'm like, you know, that new era that they're talking about, if you notice, man, the only person that retained the championship last night, or the 2 nights, you know, leading up to WrestleMania, was Io Sky and who else? It was and Tiffany. That's it. Every other championship changed hands. Every other championship. Jacob Fatu is holding the United States Championship. That man is going to be world champion one day. He is of this new era. He is. This new era of wrestling where, you know, that craziness, that cutthroat, that raw, that authentic, man, you can, look, he came in as a villain and he still is a villain, but he's getting over because of how skillful he is in the ring and the antics of what he does. That works. Dominic Mysterio, champion. I don't think Dom even spent a day in NXT, but just his first match was with Seth Rollins during the COVID era. You may not like Dom, you may not like Jacob, but you gotta be able to respect their talent and their work ethic of what they do. Dom is excellent. I hate that Liv wasn't able to retain the championship, and you know, we have brand new shout out to Becky made a debut, her debut last night with Laura Vaquera, you know, taking the place of Bailey. Didn't see that one coming. They kept that as a surprise for us. But I was hoping that Liv and Raquel would have retained because of just the craziness and the storyline of Dom and Liv holding the championship together with Finn being in the mix, you know, whether he's trying, you know, they're doing that whole angle where they're really not trying to hear what he's saying because he's not holding the belt. And now with Dom holding the belt, you know, man, that can go a completely different way. I'm excited. I'm excited about what's getting ready to happen. And they cheered Dom last night. Dom got a big pop when he won that belt. That crowd was behind Dominic Mysterio. The guy that was getting booed, they started to cheer.